Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, checking in with a weekly garden tour. I'm over here at the neighbor property that we are in the process of buying, and I was just evaluating this property border and I think it looks pretty awesome. I thought it would be the perfect place to start this week's garden tour. We're officially after the fall open garden, and now in the coming weeks I'm going to be preparing for frost and getting all of these beds replanted with cool season plants. But let's see how everything looks right now as we're in the middle of October and we have no frost in sight. The first thing I noticed from being inside the neighbor house in the master bedroom was how the pumpkins are just like so gently falling over this border. Now my plan is to remove these Vicarii ligustrums. They've done their job and I think they're super ugly. I don't want them anymore. But I love seeing the pumpkins dangle through them. And not only are there pumpkins growing, you see there's Seminole pumpkins there, but there's birdhouse gourds also dangling from this thicket. And there's a really nice big Seminole pumpkin right here. Quite a few growing on this property border. Ooh, it's really quite heavy. It's amazing, their density. Another one there. Needless to say, I might as well be an 8-year-old when it comes to looking for pumpkins around the yard. But not only do the pumpkins look great, the castor beans, these are all self-sown. And then the broom sorghum. This is a variety that was grown for these seed heads, and that's actually what they would make brooms from. These have done really well. You can see they've got kind of really nice open seed heads. And I suspect the birds will eat this seed as well. It's not the traditional kind that you would buy as bird seed. See how tall they are. They're every bit 15 foot tall. I grew them here purposely to flank this opening. Overall, this border looks good, although I'm getting ready. This will probably be the first place that I remove some stuff and start getting some fall things planted. I'm walking into this border. You know, I removed the buckwheat from here like 2 weeks ago, and you can see it's self-sowed and it's already starting to flower again. And the wheat that I planted in here is germinating well. This bed is kind of not looking like super interesting right now, but that's okay because once we have frost, this will get completely replanted. It's nice that there's still zinnias blooming in here. And this rose has really burst into bloom thanks to cooler temperatures and yesterday's almost 3 inches of rain that fell during the fall open garden. This is a section that I need to come through and clean up. This is old buckwheat that's fallen, and this will be an ideal spot to plant some cool season veggies because it's shady. You can see the pumpkin patch through here. There's a whole bunch of pumpkins all throughout this border, and birdhouse gourds dangling from the trees. Really pleased to see so many flower buds forming on the Edgeworthia. This is Edgeworthia chrysantha snow cream. And this one is really small because in 2019 in November we had a frost and it hadn't like lost its leaves or anything, and it really damaged the big stem, so I cut it to the ground and this is what's reflushed. So it's starting to get, you know, some decent size again, and it'll be super beautiful and fragrant. Typically January, February when it flowers. This wall of pumpkins continues to do great, and along the edge of the woods, it's really fun because there's a lot of pumpkins starting to form now of all different sizes. I'm actually gonna come and harvest one of the small ones tonight and eat that for dinner. I like them when they're about this size. See, they're super shiny and like There's 2 more in there. If I was to get my boots and traverse through here, I bet I'd find so many pumpkins. Honestly, I haven't walked back here because this is where copperheads hang out, and I don't want to experience getting potentially bit by one. So I kind of leave the woods alone through the summer and especially in the fall when they're really active. It rained so hard during yesterday's open garden, but I did have a sign directing people over to see this monster Edgeworthia. And this too, this is also snow cream, and you can see it's got tons of flower buds forming all over it. And this one is, you know, probably going close to 14, 15 foot. And this is such a funny thing, because this is a plant I rooted in 2014, and I potted it up and I set it here, and then it rooted in, and so that whole plant is growing from that. And it's really probably one of the healthiest specimens of Edgeworthia chrysantha in like all of Wake County, North Carolina. Totally not planted on purpose, just rooted through in a pot. So we come along here. Oh geez, you guys. There's like a woodpecker over there pecking at the bat box. That is not what that's for. I really want the bats to move in there. Everything here is doing pretty well. See, the rain kind of knocked some foliage branches off. But the cool season veggies are definitely coming along. I'll need to retreat them with BT because you see right there, she's laying eggs. And those eggs will turn into cabbage worms and they will eat the foliage. And that is the life cycle. And I hate these white moths so much. I wish I was quick enough to catch them. I never am. I'll probably just embarrass myself if I try. Damn, that was close. But what I planted 2 weeks ago is definitely doing well. The barley is germinated. The crimson clover is also germinating. That's down in the ground. And then of course the garlic and broccoli combo, it's all doing really well, but I do need to get that coated with BT. And even through the rain yesterday, everybody loved the Salvia leucantha corner. It's just so beautiful. Especially with that Whoa Nelly holly behind it. Look at all these future raspberries. I don't really remember having raspberries set fruit this late in the season, but this year they are, and there's some ripe fruit over there. And I actually haven't even walked through the tomato trail. I suspect there's probably some more tomatoes to harvest. Yeah, a few, not as many as there has been. Things are starting to slow down. The days are significantly shorter and significantly cooler. It's amazing. But there's definitely some tasty tomatoes to harvest. Now I really have to show you this Brugmansia, because it has so many flowers on it and they just keep forming. It's really awesome. They smell so good. This is Charles Grimaldi, which is really the most reliably hardy here in Zone 7. And Fragrant Angel's Trumpet is such a delightful plant. Of course, everybody was asking about this Kufia, and it has been reliably hardy for me because it's planted at a bottle wall. Remember, these bottles retain heat. The sun solarizes the air and then it creates a microclimate in the soil. So bottle walls are really practical if you want to zone bend and grow some things that aren't always reliably hardy, and you'll be pleasantly surprised by what comes through each season. So I'm at a stage where I'm letting some of the okras get big, but I'm gonna come through and harvest these small ones and eat them tonight. This is one called Heavy Hitter, and the nematodes still really haven't infected that look here, these have totally defoliated. So I need to just go ahead and pull these out. In fact, I can do that now with you guys, and you can see what the roots look like. Ta-da! Root knot nematodes. There you go. And all the coleus have them too. I just haven't decided. I don't like to undo this bed until I have the plants to replace it, because I want the bed to just be replanted. So the peanuts are doing great, and that's what I'm mostly waiting on the farmers around me to initiate harvesting peanuts, so then I know it's time. That's totally how I figure it out. It's generally late October, but it's very much based on the weather. So when you pull them out, which you can see these right along the edge have been pulled, there's more peanuts, you know, in the ground here. When you pull these out, the way they do it in the fields is they just leave them and they turn them upside down and let them sit in the sun for a couple of days. So you want to time your peanut harvest with weather that's going to be sunny and dry. And actually we had 2 inches fall during yesterday's open garden. And I just want to sincerely say thank you to everybody who came out yesterday. It was so much fun to see you, and we actually had a shocking number of people attend considering how much water fell from the sky. We desperately needed the rain, so it's not a complaint. We have a joke that the way to break a drought in this area is for me to throw an outdoor party, and that remains consistent. I think these Treasure Island sweet potatoes, everybody was really impressed by them. And I am super happy to tell you guys that, as I don't know where they'll be available next year, but I asked the people that are in charge of it, and they were like, they're gonna send me plants so that I can have them for sale at the spring open garden. So that is super awesome, because I really think everybody, if you like sweet potatoes, you should be growing these Treasure Islands, because you get the benefit of the ornamental foliage, but the foliage and the tubers are edible. So there's just a million reasons to grow them. And I'm excited that I'll be able to have these for sale. I haven't set the date yet, so stay tuned, but sometime in May of 22, we will have the spring open garden. And there's that woodpecker. He's gonna make that bat house his home. Doggone it. I really want the bats to move in there. Oh well, I'm not in control. I just am a facilitator. I was also really pleased to see that the firebush, Odontothera, I need to look up the name. This has been hardy now for like 6 or 7 years. This is the smallest it's ever been because we've been so dry, but I'm glad to see it's blooming. And the eggplants are really big. I actually have quite a few eggplants. I've been harvesting them at about this size. I'll harvest this tonight to eat. They're just much more tender and much more delicious. In my early days of growing eggplant, I let them grow way too big, and they were like hard and rubbery. And anybody else out there might enjoy this. You know how there was a commercial about you not turning into your parents? Well, I have a thing from not being able to get rid of cardboard boxes because they're useful. And I had stashed away a whole bunch of boxes thinking I was going to have a plant sale yesterday, and none of the plants were big enough. So today I made myself collapse all the boxes and make them ready to go to the recycling center. And it was killing me because I kept being like, oh, but this is such a good box. And it's so ridiculous, but I cannot help it. It's just, maybe that's the sign of actually being an adult, hoarding boxes. The snail vine continues to put out lots of flowers. It's just such a cool plant. I'm really happy that's been hardy. And of course the papyrus, everybody is always intrigued with the papyrus, and so am I. And again, this has been hardy for like 8 years, planted in a sunken pond liner that does fill with water. When it overflows, it just literally overflows. And it's here on the south side of the house where in the winter it gets a lot of extra warmth. And I think that's why this is really a zone 8 border. And everybody loved seeing the Tibashina. And I probably will not try to overwinter this. I'll just hopefully be able to buy another one next year. It's so beautiful. When it comes time, I'll probably not have the heart, and I'll try and pot it, and then it will die like in the middle of winter. It's a tropical shrub. Really needs to be in a heated greenhouse with humidity, so I don't really have the right environment to overwinter it. And now that the open garden is over, I'm sort of contemplating replanting the live wall with cool season stuff so that it has some time before it gets cold to really get established. And now that the fall open garden is finished, I am going to make the rice video, finally. There's still seed here that are like ideal for eating, so I promise that I will get that accomplished. I wanted to leave these rice plants as they were so visitors could actually see them, feel them, touch them, experience it. And now that I don't really have any more garden tours scheduled, I can start cleaning up and collecting seed. The tree that had the most inquiries was this big one. This is Celtis sinensis green dragon. This is a weeping form of the Asian hackberry that my former boss from Camellia Forest actually brought back seed from a plant when he was exploring China. And I just wanted to show you this cute golden panther. Sophia Petrillo is taking a cat nap in her little bed. And then little babe, who did not make an appearance during yesterday's open garden, is sitting there. She's ready to go in and get Fancy Feast. But they are here at the front porch with these magnificent gin fizz tomatoes. Look at how many fruit are still over here. They're so delicious. And someone said they couldn't find seeds, so I'm going to collect a bunch of seed. That way I'll be able to offer these as plants next year during the spring open garden. No surprise, the colocasia Thailand giant intrigued visitors yesterday, and this one continues to put out more flowers. I've started collecting seed on it. I have to start cleaning the seed. But these leaves are just so enormous. It's so interesting. It's an awkward plant to design around. I'm not gonna lie about that. It's weird, but I love it. I'm really disappointed that this senna hasn't flowered. I mean, I think it's a cool plant, but it would be better if it would bloom, you know. And finally have lots and lots of dahlias. And I love all the different colors. Oh, I see some more ripe tomatoes back there. The bees love them, especially these single forms. And everybody was super impressed with these dahlias from Aldi. That's this clump here. That's right. Aldi dahlias. I bought these in April. And look at them now. I potted them in a 1 gallon and didn't plant them in the ground until the middle of July or middle of June. But now that we're cooler and with shorter days, they're really, coming into their own, and they look awesome. So I think overall my tropical front garden came to fruition, and I really am pleased with it this year. I should have counted already, but I didn't. So we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Kind of a lull through here. Sort of strange. There's 9. There's 10. There's 11 over there, dangling out front. Big one over there, number 12. This is definitely the biggest one of the Kusha squash. And the vines just keep growing. So definitely counting this as a success. An unexpected surprise. I had forgotten that I had sown Kusha squash. I thought that this was going to be Seminole pumpkin. But as I've mentioned the last few weeks, I'm really happy to have this. I'm excited to eat it. I think this is different. Because see, the Kusha squash looks like that little one when it's small. So it's possible that I have some strange hybrids happening out here. Who knows? But pretty stoked. Looks like the rain has caused some of the immature ones to sort of rot off, which is too bad because I could have eaten that. But I have plenty of big mature plants or mature fruit that I'm gonna wait until they're fully ripened off the vine, because that, from what I understand, is how they'll have the longest shelf life once I bring them inside. I've been thinking about how to change this shrub border. Stay tuned for some winter projects. As we get closer and closer to taking ownership of the house, I'm really excited to start developing all this property. This is obviously where we had our garden open tent, which was well utilized since it rained pretty much the entire duration of the event. But it was really exciting to get everybody else's perspective on the potential of the new property, and just really grateful for all that we have to look forward to. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's garden tour, and again, thank you all for coming out to the fall open house. It was a joy to see you, and I hope you enjoyed walking the gardens in person. And I look forward to giving you another update from my home foodscape here in Central North Carolina, Zone 7 next week. Have a great one, everybody.